I grew up in Mulberry subdivision. We were always outside playing, always outside playing. I would always want to play with my brothers, or if they needed an extra player to play football, they would ask me to play, and you know, it wasn't like tackle or anything. I mean, I never did that, but I loved catching the ball. You know, they would throw the ball, I would catch the ball. I just loved the competitiveness. I think it really helped make me the competitive person that I became, and tough. Softball was the very first team sport that I got involved in because I played hark. My friend got me to go and try out, and I tried out, and I became the starting shortstop. So that was the first team competition that I actually played. My older sister was trying out for volleyball, so my dad put a net in our backyard. And she kept trying to serve the ball overhand, because you had to serve the ball overhand in order to make the team. And she kept trying, and she couldn't make it. And so I went out there and I did it, and on my first try it went over the net, and she was a little upset, but so that kind of led me and got my confidence up to try out for volleyball. I also tried out for cheerleader early on, because my mom and sister kind of encouraged me to try, and I said, okay, I'll try, because I was cheerleader at St. Francis. And I tried, and I got cut. And back then you had to try out in front of the whole student body. Yeah, it was wild. But I got cut, and I felt like, you know, I got cut for a reason. You know, I think deep down inside I was elated, because I was more of I really enjoyed sports. Once I started playing volleyball, volleyball is just so, it's a lot quicker than softball. So I love volleyball. I love volleyball still to this day. Vera Chicazola did a great job coaching us and motivating us. And by the time we were seniors, that's all I can remember, but I know we made it to the state finals and lost in the championship my senior year. I tell you what, Miss Chick really gave me a lot of confidence. I mean, Coach Albert as well. I mean, but Miss Chick really, she's a very intense, you know, pick me up, you know, high five, you know, and that's how I am. We had this, the record, right, the undefeated record, constantly going, and you know, everybody kept bringing it up, but I think they probably brought it up more so to Coach Albert, and he might have felt it a little bit more than we did, because we just went out there and played our best that we could and had fun doing it.
He's great. He'll do anything for anyone on our team. He's been like a father to us.
He was a great coach, obviously. He did a great job of teaching the game, and I feel like that's most important when you're coaching is trying to teach the game, because the only way you can be good at something is if you understand why you're doing it. And teaching the rules in the game is very important. As a player in high school, we always look to Coach Albert. He's kind of like that father figure, you know, because he was a male coach of all the girls, and we cut up so bad, you know, but we worked hard, so it was always fun. And it was always us learning. And he would joke around with us all the time. So there was a lot of respect there, but there was a lot of fun. And I think that's what kept us relaxed when we played. Never had to get on Michelle, you know. Sometimes I would try to relax her as a catcher when I caught for her my senior year. But Michelle was just calm, cool, and collected. I mean, she knew what she had to do, and she was my God, she pitched every pitch. You always remember your senior year, and I have to say that one sticks out. And as I look back, for me personally, I mean, like I said, it was after the loss of my brother. My teammates were there for me. My coach was there for me, and they actually helped carry me through that time. I think when Michelle and I had gone to play summer ball with a team out of Baton Rouge, and we went to a tournament in Tennessee, I believe, and when we traveled with those girls, they had like 3 or 4 of them that were already there at McNeese, and we just got to know them that weekend, and we hit it off, and that really was the deciding factor for me, I think. whenever you play college sports, nothing's easy. You know, it's totally different than high school, and that's what, you know, I've always tried to teach my kids. It's a job. You know, coaches, most college coaches, I'm not going to say they don't care about you, but they want production. When I played both, I think the hardest thing for me was I never had the opportunity really to strength train, because when I was in volleyball in the fall, that's when softball was doing their weights, and vice versa. When I was in softball, that's when volleyball was doing their weights and conditioning. Going away to college was the best thing. It was the hardest thing for me to do at that time, but it was the best thing in the long run, because I really believe it made me learn to stand on my own 2 feet. Playing both sports and being at McNeese, I have so many contacts. I've met so many great people. So I was going back to work on my master's. So I was grad assistant, in which I was an assistant volleyball coach, and I taught, I think it was 2 or 3 classes. While I was at McNeese, I got a call from Mary Watley Young. She called me saying that her and her husband would be moving to Texas, and that they were looking for a volleyball softball coach at Vandebilt. And she asked me if I'd be interested, and I kind of like started shaking a little bit, because I wasn't quite sure if that's really what I wanted to do. So I told her I would let her know. So the first thing I did was, like I always do, I called my parents. 1990 was special because it was my first year, and I was able to coach my little sister and her friends. I mean, those 4 seniors were so goal-oriented, and they wanted that state championship so bad. Bridget Dewey, Dawn Whitman, Susu Alexander, and Deanna Haydel. That was a special year, but that wouldn't have happened without those 4 seniors. 1996 was a pivotal year in my career, only because I think that team, I think the light bulb went off in my head as to why I was really here and why I was in coaching. It wasn't just to go out there and practice every day. In other words, there's a lot more to why I'm a coach and the job I need to do for these kids. Brother Carl Evans was my first softball assistant, my very first year. And not only was he my assistant for years, and then he went down and started coaching the junior high, but he was also kind of like my guardian angel. James Spearman was my longest assistant coach for 12 years. And he actually has more years experience in coaching than me. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from James. None of the championships were easy. Everybody thinks it's easy. It's not easy. It's hard winning a championship. I think every year I've learned something about myself as a coach. And every team has been different. So every year you're learning something new about yourself, because these kids, like, I'm not always the teacher. These kids, every team teaches you something. And I think as the years went by, I've built on that. And I've tried to take something that I learn every year, and I keep trying to move it in the positive direction. It's not the championships, and it's not only those teams, it's every single player that I've coached. You know, I have a bulletin board in my office, and on that bulletin board, I mean, it goes back to my volleyball days when my son is only 2 years old, that I have on there, and it's just pictures of athletes and even students that I've taught through the years. I mean, that bulletin board means more to me than anything. First, my mom and dad, always been supportive, always encouraging. They believe more in us than we believe in ourselves sometimes, because we're going through it, you know, and we have to learn on our own. Emotionally, you know, venting, crying, everything. My sisters, my brothers gave me the competitive edge, made me learn how to fight. I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for him. Early on in my career, when I was coaching volleyball and softball and I had 2 small kids, I mean, he had his own job. And at the time, I was coaching volleyball by myself. So if one of my kids got sick and we had a district game or we had a game, I was also the bus driver, okay, for all my games. He would have to take off or my mom would keep him, but it was never me. And that was hard on me. But he was my Mr. Mom. I mean, he was everything. Not only did my husband have to sacrifice, but my Joshua and Hayden sacrificed so much for my job. And even me missing some of their games when they were younger, I mean, I had just had, you know, you get to the point where you don't want to miss anymore. First and foremost, I think in order for any team to be successful, first you have to be a team. And I think what I took from my senior year, and even Vandebilt softball that, you know, we had under Coach Albert, we, you know, a family. But I really felt it more predominantly my senior year, that I knew my teammates were there for me. And I think that all my years of coaching, whether it was volleyball or softball, I mean, you have to have some type of camaraderie. I really believe that having that sense of family outside of your family, because you spend so much time together. You know, I always wanted Vandebilt softball to be special. I'm gonna push here, because if I push just a little bit and don't say anything, then they're only gonna give you half. But if you raise the bar and you push them a little bit more, then they're gonna give you more. And most of the time that happened. And I wouldn't say that I was perfect in the manner in which I did it all the time, but my heart was definitely in the right place.